Hi, and welcome to this lesson on using Database Health Monitor to monitor for blocking queries. To start out with, we're on a demo server here, and we're going to start and run Database Health Monitor. Now, in order to monitor blocking, we have to have a server that has some blocking on it. So with this test server, first we're going to take a look. We're going to click on the server name, and then in the gray buttons in the instance level reports, we're going to click on blocking queries. And we're going to hit F5 for the refresh. To hit refresh this a few times, and we can see that currently there is nothing on this server that is blocking. So I've prepared earlier a blocking script that will spin up a number of SQL Server agent jobs and run them in the background, and basically thrashing one table where a whole bunch of blocking is going to occur so that we have something to see in this blocking monitor demo. Got the script here. We're going to modify it so that it's going to run for 1 minute or 60 seconds on each of two jobs. And on those jobs, we're going to change the number of jobs we're going to have run, and we'll run 10 each. Now what that's going to go do is when we execute this, it's going to go create 10 agent tasks, or 10 SQL Server agent jobs that do one thing and another 10 that do another thing. And then we go and look at our blocking query monitor, and we just hit the F5 or the refresh key here, and we can see that yes, there is some blocking happening here. We can see the ones that are shown in red are what's known as the head blocker or the top blocker. They're the ones that are doing the blocking, and then everything else listed below that is what is being blocked. And sometimes the blocking will be there, and then depending on the load, it'll clear. And with this script, it takes a little bit of time for everything to spin up and get really slamming the system. So hit refresh a couple of times. And now, as we can see here, there is definitely one that is the top blocker. Hit refresh, we see that there's now two. In the blocking chain column, it shows session ID or SPID is of the session that's doing the blocking, as well as all of those that have been blocked. So we can see this top one here is a session ID of 95, and the other one is a session ID of 96, and that those are the blockers, and that all the others below are shown as what is being blocked there. Now, this is great if you're trying to find blocking that's happening right now on the server. But what happens if you want to monitor overnight? Let's say there's something going on between like 12:30 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and you want to catch it, but you don't want to be up all night watching and hitting refresh to see what's going on there. Well, there's a better option here with Database Health Monitor that we can use. But first we'll go take a look at our test load and see if it's finished. We go back to the SQL Server agent. Oops, we'll just hit refresh again. And we can see that the SQL Server agent jobs show that all of the jobs that were called blocking test or load jobs have finished at this point. So we go back to Database Health Monitor, and we're going to kick off this other tool. From the Tools menu, we're going to run the blocking query monitor. Now when we run the blocking query monitor, what we're going to do is adjust the frequency of how often it checks for blocking. The default is 30. I'm going to turn this down to 10 seconds, and we're running it on the current server. We hit start monitoring, and then I'm just going to drag it over to the side here so we can take a look at it. Now while that's running, we're going to go back to our previous blocking queries list and hit F5 to refresh, and we see that there's nothing blocking right now, and we know that none of our agent jobs are running. So we'll go back to the blocking query monitor. It's sitting there. It's reporting nothing because there's no blocking happening right now. So we go back to our simulated load script. We're going to change it here. Instead of running for 60 seconds, we'll run it for a little bit shorter amount of time. We'll just go 30 seconds. And we kick off the script. Now it's building up to put the load on the server. If we go back to the blocking query monitor here, and we watch it for a minute, within the next 10 seconds when it does another check, it should report that it's found some blocking. So, yep, definitely some blocking going on here, and it looks like the blocking is going on around the login user procedure. We zoom out a little bit here so we can see a little bit more. And what it's showing is that the blocking query is shown, and then all of them that are being blocked is shown. And on each line where it says the SPID, that's the session ID, and then it has a blocking chain. And the blocking chain in this is 75 is blocking 86, which is blocking 87, and so on. Now, as we look at this, because it's checking every 10 seconds, there are different copies of or different results coming in every 10 seconds. So if we look at the time, here it was at 8:48, session ID of 76, and there's the blocking chain, and it's on the database blocking test. What we do typically is we go and find the query that's blocking, figure out why it's blocking, and then track down and see what we can do to fix it. One thing that's handy to do in the blocking query monitor, once you've got your results, hit Control A for select all, and then copy them, and then you can go paste them in Word or some text document somewhere that you can come back and review them later. Alright, well, we're going to stop the monitoring here and take a look at a third option. So far we've looked at the immediate blocking. This is the one that runs every 10 seconds or every whatever interval we want and writes it to this window. There's another tool that we'll take a look at. But before we go look at the next tool, we're just going to go confirm that all of our load jobs have finished. We hit refresh. We can see that some of them are still running there. We give it just a minute and hit refresh a few times because it was only supposed to be running for about 30 seconds. And then we can see the load jobs are disappearing and going away. And as soon as they're gone, we should be able to be good to go and try out our next thing. Okay, they're gone. We'll go back to Database Health Monitor. We'll go to the Tools menu and choose the Sql Performance Monitor. Now, this is a tool that I've added into Database Health Monitor recently, and we'll just have to prompt for the server name. Again, here the database we're connecting to is called Green. You can point it at any SQL server, of course. We get connected, and we hit the Start Monitor button. And as soon as we start the monitor, it starts showing us up top how many database connections we have. Right now there's 52, and that sort of pink bar is a chart that's going to show over time how the number of connections changes. And then in the windows below that, we have a missing indexes section and a blocking queries section. Nothing very interesting showing there yet, other than we're kind of establishing a baseline up top for the number of connections that are currently happening on the server, and we can see that currently there's no blocking queries and there's no missing indexes that have been detected on what's currently running in memory. We can see that the user connections bounces around a little bit until we go and run our load test again. We go kick off our load test, and then we switch back to the blocking query monitor. Right away we see our user connections start to go up. Jumps up to 66, 67, based off the number of agent jobs we have running there throwing work at it. And then pretty quick we should start seeing some information dropping into the blocking queries or the missing indexes panels. This is so useful when you've got something you want to let run for a while, or if you're trying to diagnose a problem that's happening right now on the server. Once it runs for a while, because remember it takes a little while for all of our agent jobs to spin up and start blocking, then we start seeing things being shown in the blocking query list. So the login user procedure is blocking. Block amount of 5 means that there's 5 sessions that are currently being blocked by it. And then the load run 2 is showing up, and there's 28 sessions that are being blocked by it. And we'll let this run a little bit longer. I think it's only going to run for about 30 seconds. But once it's done, we'll be able to see the number of user connections drop back down to where it was before, and some of the blocking query information will stop accumulating here. So we can see so far the load run 2 has 28 blocks and the login user has 5, and it's also in the missing indexes panel, it's found 2 indexes that are being suggested that would help with these specific queries that we're running into blocking issues with. The first one, it wants an index on the table users based off of ID. Yeah, and purposely my load test didn't have the best indexes on it. And then the second index that's being suggested is around users and email, or sorry, users email and password, and that's what we're doing on the login user script, is we're querying on email and password, just as is shown right there. So this is one of those things where we're now able to see what the blockers are. We're able to see some indexes that will help with those, and we're able to go look at the queries and see exactly everything that's being blocked by that. This is one of the newer features in Database Health Monitor, and I love it because it's so easy to be able to go and find what's blocking and what's happening at a specific point in time on your SQL Server. So next, if we want to save some of this information off to go look into it later, we can go to the Reports menu, and from the Reports menu we go to the either just blocking queries or indexes or the full report. Here we load up blocking queries, formats it in HTML over here on the side, and that's something you can easily copy and paste and drop into Word or someplace that you can pass it around to other people to have them help you take a look at it. Alright, well that wraps up this demo on 3 different ways to monitor for blocking queries using Database Health Monitor. The first one is great for just hitting right now and seeing what's blocking. The last 2 are good as things you can run and leave running for a while and do the monitoring while you step away.